We were fired up at the Open when you weren't here.
I was interviewing Drew Timmy.
So 9 seed, heading to the Elite Eight.
Well, you were talking to this slapdick over here.
Speaking of slapdicks, who did you pick to win the Florida Atlantic Tennessee game?
I just brutal.
Oh, Tennessee over and over and over. He picked.
Who did you pick?
I sang Rocky
FAU.
Top.
You did? Oh, that's
Yes,
right, you did.
I
Let's
did.
go.
I hit 3 or 4.
He sang good old Rocky Top.
Oh, can you sing
I forgot about that.
Let's go.
I forgot
Let's
that.
go.
Good old Rocky Top. FAU is here's, before we talk about the game, before we talk about what happened, before we talk about Dusty May and FAU, I just want to say that it's pretty damn cool that we are sitting here in the Elite Eight. Well, about to be in the Elite Eight.
Sure.
And one of the mid-major teams that we spent the entire season hyping up
is there.
Like,
Imagine if
how
you
many
would have
times-
spent your winter in Boca instead of Charleston.
I did go for a day.
For a day.
I went for a day. I spent some time with them. Okay. They had one of those. When I went there for the day, I watched practice.
Yeah.
And then after practice, I was going to sit down with Dusty and some of the players and everything. Well, they were invited to a lunch with like a big booster, which was a huge thing for them at one of those Boca hotels right on the water. Oh. So I went, and they had, I forget what it's called. It's a guy, it wasn't like magic tricks, but what do they call the guys? They're not, I don't know what the hell they call them, but he was doing all sorts of kind of tricks.
A magician?
Well, he wasn't a magician. That was not the term he used for what he did. Anybody know the term?
Yeah, this is the bad story.
Ventriloquist. I don't know.
No, it wasn't that either. But anyway, they were there
It's
literally.
definitely not that.
They were watching this dude. They were so into it for like an hour and a half, and we had an angle on him so we could see kind of what he was doing. Yeah. And these kids were just like fooled. They had no idea what was. They were so excited by this dude for an hour and a half. They were locked in. They wanted to go. They kept going. So I didn't really have a lot of time to talk to him. But great group. And really cool because Dusty May, he told me that day, he said, listen, everybody thinks I'm a good Ole Miss. This was before the Chris Beard stuff started. Everybody thinks I'm good Ole Miss. I want to stay here. As long as they'll give me better resources here, I want to stay here. But as I tweeted out, it was ranked as the 13th.
I was going to ask you that,
Yeah, it was the 13th of 14 jobs in Conference USA when I did that thing.
Explain why. Tell them why.
Because they have no resources. Like, it's great. It's on the beach. That's a great thing. But I did a game there a couple years ago, and their facilities suck. They suck. Matt McCall was an assistant there 15 years ago. You know what he said? When I walked back in this year, it was like going back in time. Nothing had changed. So, Dusty May, get paid, man. Get paid at FAU. Hopefully they'll step up and give you $1 million+ a year for 6 years. I know you love it there. I know your family loves it there. And hopefully in a year or so, a big boy will come call. They will come calling. There's just nothing out there. Everybody asks me, they're like, what's Dusty May taking now? There's nothing there right now.
That's the weird thing about
Today's episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play college basketball pick'em, where you can get a little extra sweat during March Madness and win real cash prizes simply by picking player stats in this weekend's games. In pick'em, all you do is predict whether a player will go higher or lower on Underdog's projected totals, whether that's points, rebounds, whatever. For example, if you're like me and you think Zach Edey is going to go nuts in this tournament, take higher on his points projection, add up to 4 more picks, and if you hit them all, you can win 20 times your money on a single game. Underdog's slick mobile app is easy enough that dummies like Jeff Goodman have even figured it out. So go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app and use the code FIELD, FIELD, and Underdog will match your deposit up to $100. Now is the time to get in on the madness. So remember, UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code FIELD.
this
Penn
coaching
State?
cycle.
He's not going to Penn State.
No, but here's the thing, too. Like, I think there were a lot of administrations, and I know we got to talk about other games, so I'll make this quick. There's a lot of administrations, like, if we don't hire somebody really, really quick, like, we're going to lose a bunch of kids to the portal. Right.
So like they're a lot of people are.
They're in a rush. I think Georgia Tech was like that.
Yeah,
they got Damon right away. And what happens is it doesn't allow for some of these Cinderella teams, these coaches, to get these opportunities
because they sell them right away.
Except for Tobin, for example.
Right.
But I feel like people were in such a rush to hire new people quickly, as opposed to let's take our time. They can't afford to do that necessarily anymore.
And I think Dusty was a manager at Indiana. I've known him forever. Like, I've known him since he was basically a manager at Indiana.
Yeah.
And he's got more shit to him than you think. Like, you look at him and you're like, yeah, good old boy. Like, you know, and obviously he's done a great job there. And the other thing is they should return almost all their team next year. So he could do this again if he keeps this group out of the portal.
Yes,
and
that's
you would
the
hope
big
he
thing.
will.
That's the big thing.
With their success, but you just never know these days.
All right, so
We're gonna talk about that game.
yeah, let's talk about that game because at one point Florida Atlantic was down 39-31, and I think that was about midway through the second half, and it felt like that thing was over. Right, when you're down by 8 to Tennessee and their defense is rolling and working the way that it was working, it doesn't feel like you can score on them. And they scored 31 points like the last 11 minutes of that game.
Yeah, they went in a run right out of the half, took the lead, and really kind of never gave it back at that point. And they're just tough. That was the
And
one
Tennessee's
thing
not
watching
geared to
them.
play from behind either.
Yes,
that too.
that's a problem.
They can't
too.
score.
Down 8 points is like
They
down
can't score.
20.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about it is when you're Tennessee, you're kind of banking on the idea that nobody is going to be able to hit jumpers over you. And if you're able to string together like 4 or 5 possessions where you knock down tough jumpers and you got guys that can make plays, then
they're
But Florida
quick.
Atlanta didn't shoot all. They
No,
didn't
but
shoot
you
all
know-
that. They're sub 30%.
You know what
Yeah.
they did?
They offensive rebounded.
Yeah, they rebounded.
They out tough
They
Tennessee.
out tough Tennessee, which is hard to do, right?
That's-
I mean, that's like
And they
playing
didn't do it
football.
dirty. They didn't do it dirty.
no,
there was a couple of dirty plays
But
in that
again,
game.
listen, did any of us really have any faith? Well, yes, you did. Have faith in Tennessee.
Yeah, I did, and it
You're the
hurts.
only.
It hurts.
You're the only one. But everybody else,
that's
nobody was on the wagon.
That's what I was going to say. Is like if
Is this
you're
that big of an upset? Is it really that big of an upset?
no, they were only 4.5-point dogs.
The numbers love the Vols all year. The stupid analytics
that's crazy.
love
That-
them
what's
because they're
wild-
running it up.
what's wild-
64th on offense.
What's wild about that, Jeff? What's wild about it is that even though the analytics loved Tennessee, they were 4.5-point favorites.
Yeah.
They weren't. They weren't sitting here saying like Vegas, where we are. Bet Rivers was not saying that
Very
FAU
true.
was like this massive mid-major underdog. And part of the reason is I think is that everybody underrates just how good Conference USA has been this season.
Mr. Hughes, Dagan's father, made sure to let us know.
Oh,
that,
he did.
That in the Final Four of the
Oh, he
NIT,
did.
there's 2 Conference USA teams, and the CBI. It's Chris, right?
Yes.
Chris
Killed
Hughes,
them.
CBI.
I saw that.
Charlotte from Conference USA won the CBI too. So all of a sudden that schedule looks better and better. Thank you, Chris Hughes.
I can't
Put me
wait
in
to
my
meet
place.
meet
I can't
Chris
wait for you
Hughes.
to come down.
Yes.